possible. Our team of tax attorneys, aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote. Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050. KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Welcome to Opinion Nation.
And we stand today on the edge of a new frontier.
There is nothing wrong with America that cannot be cured by what is right with America.
What makes us Americans is our shared commitment to an ideal that all of us are created equal.
I, too, am American.
Now here's your host, Bryce Robbins.
Hello everybody, I'm Bryce. Whoa, that is music. Alright, so what's going on here is I am here all by myself. I'm growing up in this world of radio show hosts, and there is nobody pressing the buttons today. It's just me. So, if I want to talk about climate change, gay marriage, or climate change, I can do so without any obnoxious sound effects going off in the background by my lovely pal Rick. And what I mean by that is, I'm learning how to do this by myself. I'm learning how to do it with the help of my friend Jess, who you should not miss her show. Now, I'm going to be taking over her show this upcoming week, pretty much, from the 17th to the 23rd. And I'm going to be doing her show, and you're going to like it, you're going to love it, because a liberal is going to come change things up a bit. So, here's what is the lowdown on everything. My show is normally right after Finding Common Ground, a show I do with Rowdy Ricky Robinson, host of America Off the Rails. But my show comes on after that, Opinion Nation, which is my show all by myself, but Rick produces it. But here I'm learning to produce it myself. So today's topic, and before you leave, let me tell you, it's not a liberal issue. It's everybody's issue. The issue I'm talking about is climate change. So, the problem is that, the Earth is getting cooler. Not cooler, it's getting hotter. And it is not my liberal education that told me that. It is scientists. You see, if I went to the dentist and they said, Bryce, you have a cavity, I wouldn't just tell them, no, I don't. All my other teeth look fine. My teeth have always been fine. How could one tooth exam prove that my teeth have cavities. The silly thing to believe is that I don't have a cavity because someone, who is a professional is telling me there's something wrong. And when the professionals are telling you that there's something wrong, listen, don't be stupid. NASA, okay? NOAA, the Department of Defense, and my favorite, Neil deGrasse Tyson, are all telling us the climate is changing. So, before you go, let me tell you, if you want to be a part of the Republican Party in the future, believe in climate change, because all my friends who are conservative say, I'm a Republican, but I believe in climate change. They also go on to believe in gay marriage, but I guess the times are changing. But they believe in climate change. So I am confident we can still turn this thing around, but I want this to hit the older generation, the baby boomers who don't believe in climate change, who think it's tomfoolery. Well, here's a guy from your generation. His name, is Neil deGrasse Tyson. And he does a radio show called Star Talk. He's also the head of the Hayden Planetarium at the Museum of Natural History in New York City. Here he is discussing climate change. Have a listen.
The good thing about science is that it's true whether or not you believe in it. And climate change has taken on political dimensions, it's taken on cultural, social dimensions. And that's odd because I don't see people choosing sides over E equals MC squared or other fundamental facts of science. But the experimental consensus is there that human beings, by virtue of our conduct, burning sources of carbon, fossil fuels among them, that have been buried for millions of years, we burn them. Carbon previously underground is now in the atmosphere, and that source of carbon makes carbon dioxide. A greenhouse gas is warming the Earth. We are warming, and that comes with consequences. By the way, Earth will survive this. People say, save the Earth. No, don't worry about Earth. Earth will be here long after we render ourselves extinct. What happens is we're changing the climate faster than our culture may be able to respond. One of the consequences is you melt ice caps. The water levels rise. Not inches, not feet, but tens of feet. And that will begin to flood coastlines. Some of the most important cities in the world were built on coastlines for the very reason that that's how you accomplish trade. It's what made those ports successful. So the very foundation of our civilization requires coastlines that existed at a time when there was not global climate change, the kind that would be warming the Earth. So get ready for that. It's going to redraw the maps of the world unless we do something about it. Venus suffers from a runaway greenhouse effect. It's 900 degrees on Venus, not simply because it's closer to the sun than us. It's not that much closer. It's a little bit closer. It's got nearly 100% CO2 in its atmosphere, and that atmosphere is 100 times as dense as ours. So heat comes in, it does not come out, and the temperature rises. I don't want Earth to look like Venus.
All right, so many points I'm going to talk about here. So, first let's go off with Venus. Venus is the planet right next door to us. It is our neighbor. It is the exact opposite of Mars. Do a little astronomy lesson here for you. We have Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. And one day maybe again will be Pluto. But let's talk about Venus and Mars and the Earth. So Venus is a planet that is the opposite of Mars. And what I mean by that is Mars has very little atmosphere and Venus has a dense atmosphere. And the issue is that it had a runaway greenhouse effect. So scientists have proven that the greenhouse effect has happened on a macro scale on another planet. But for some reason, we don't believe that it is happening here. I mean, to me, that is silly. If we can prove that it's happening somewhere else, I don't understand why we can't understand why it would be happening here. But that's, I guess, neither here nor there. What I do want to mention, though, is everyone will tell you, oh, it's weather. Right? It's weather, it's weather, it's weather. The problem is, it's not just weather. It is not weather at all, in fact. It is more than weather. It is climate, which is different than weather. And I want to stress that. Weather is the day-to-day operation. It is, today it's raining, tomorrow it's not raining, the next day it is raining, the day after it's not raining. So the thing about that is that climate is the average of that. And what I mean by it is the average of it, it is weather over an extended period of time. So what was the climate like for the past 100 years? What was the climate like for the past 10,000 years? And the thing that I must tell you is, and the interesting thing about this, is the fact that we are living in an era that is heating up quicker than ever before. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't have to take my word for it, but please take the scientists' word for it, because that is who I'm talking about. And let me tell you something. I recently got into a Facebook argument, and I don't do this a lot. I really don't. But I got into this argument with this other radio show host who, if you could tell from our past, don't get so along with him. His name's Rod. He hosts the Rod Eckel Show. And the fact of the matter is he doesn't believe in climate change. And to be honest, that is beyond silly. He cites sources that are A, would not pass in my high school, and B, that would not be suitable in any debate forum, because why? They were all disproven by NASA. They're coming from these weird websites, and he's saying, oh, well, that's not true. In my day, we learned about global cooling. I looked up global cooling, if you believed in that. If you believe, oh, well, they told us it was global cooling, now they say it's global warming, well, what are we going to believe? No, ladies and gentlemen, that is a false argument. Actually, global cooling was a study that was done in the United States by somebody who worked at NASA. He only studied ground readings from North America and failed to study around the world. His entire operation was proven to not even really be scientific. And the fact of the matter is, this one study is what we're going to go off of? Ridiculous. There has been 10,000 studies published, or 97% of studies published are concurring that climate change is man-driven, or it is accelerating, in that it is accelerating the process of natural climate change. No one's denying that the climate doesn't change naturally. They're just saying we are making it a bit bigger of a problem. So let me just tell you something. I want to read you. I'm gonna get. I guess maybe I'll get to my Facebook argument. I don't know if I want to put that on the air, but I am calling out Rod Eccles because he absolutely, in no way, shape, or form, knows at all what he's talking about when it comes to climate change, or most things for that matter. Rod seems to think he does, but doesn't seem to want to listen to scientists. So, let me break it down for you. We have ice core data, okay? And this ice core data, and what that means is they drill down and they take oxygen bubbles that were trapped in the Arctic from hundreds of thousands of years ago. This chart from NASA goes back 800,000 years. Now, the highest CO2 in parts per million before humans is approximately 200 and I'd say 70 or 80 parts per million. Just below 300. Okay, great. The Industrial Revolution happens. And mind you, when humans started, modern humans started 30,000 years ago, we were around 200, maybe a little bit below 200 parts per million of CO2 in our atmosphere. That means there were these little atoms of carbon and oxygen, CO2, right? Carbon, 2 oxygen atoms in our atmosphere. There was 200 of them in parts per million. Then the Industrial Revolution happened, and we get to almost around 300 parts per million. Then the Industrial Revolution picked up, and today, in our present day, we are at 400 parts per million. The number went up drastically at the start of the Industrial Revolution. Are we just going to take this as a coincidence? Or are we going to look at this logically and say, okay, we did something here that affected the numbers, that affected us, that made these numbers go up? We did it with lead. The guy who discovered lead, I want to say his name's Claire Patterson, I believe his name is, or something Patterson, realized that the number in parts per million of lead on the ocean surface was greater than on the ocean floor. And he said, well, why is this? It's because there was lead in our paint. Yes, there was lead in our paint, but there was lead in our gasoline. This was before the catalytic converter. And he goes, well, something's wrong with that. And over time and time, after congressional hearing and debating with the oil lobby, he proves to the United States Senate that lead is in fact harmful, that we have increased the amount of lead. And since we banned lead from consumer products in the United States, it has dropped in trace amounts in our bodies by 70%. So someone like Rod wants to tell me, oh, humans can't affect the world like that. That we can't do that. We did. And we changed it. An era does not become a mistake unless you refuse to correct it. John F. Kennedy once used that in a speech. And I believe that. That makes sense to me. And the sheer fact of the matter is that climate change is, in fact, the biggest problem that we face. And I'm going to tell you why now. So, I think I did a pretty good job at establishing the fact that climate change is real. The 14 hottest years on record were the last... Of the 15 hottest years on record, 14 of them were the last 14 years. So, if we take the 15 hottest years that are recorded, the 14 are made up by the last 14 years, consecutively getting hotter. This was the hottest July in recorded history. And we see drought, we see wildfire. I don't know if that number is really increasing, but again, the fact of the matter is I'm not a scientist. If I was curious how to hit a baseball and Derek Jeter was trying to coach me on how, would I deny his instruction? So why would I deny climate change when NASA tells us it is real? It makes no sense. And it's honestly, I think, I think the single biggest problem that this nation faces today, and in general, it's that we're too arrogant, that we accept that we can't accept that people's beliefs are wrong, and that sometimes we need to learn instead of assuming we are right regardless of circumstance. And I think that is something that our politicians need to learn. But we also need to get money out of politics, and I think we would then clearly see that climate change is the biggest problem. Now, let me prove it to you. Let me prove it to you very, very quickly that climate change is real. Enough with the numbers. I get it now. NASA, NOAA, and the Department of Defense all say climate change is real. That we are the primary force of climate change. So what are we missing here? And here's where we can prove it. Follow the money. To Democrats, they get $2.48 million annually versus $18.5 million to Republicans in Congress alone from the coal and oil industry. $18.5 million versus $2.4 million. It kind of makes sense why Republicans don't act on climate change, and the scientists wrong, or is the money speaking louder than the logic to our elected officials? And that is something that I think everybody needs to look at, and this is where I got into a fight with Rod Eccles, because he says, if you want to fix climate change, then demand hydrogen power. So he's acknowledging climate change, but then before he says, I'm always learning, I love learning, I've never claimed to know it all. In fact, I'll be the first to tell you, in the greater scheme of things, I know nothing at all. But then he's going on to tell me that climate change is actually a fake. It is not real. I mean, it's almost funny how Rod Eccles goes back on himself. So, talking about a man of conviction, a man of his word, not Rod, because he's going to tell me how data is faked. He actually goes on to say how there are these studies that proved there are these emails. It was called ClimateGate that he quotes, and he goes, "Oh, this proves climate change is wrong. These two professors were hacked, and they were shown to have falsified data." So I look it up, right? All right, let's give Rod the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he's right. Let's see what this means. Even if he is, I don't think that two scientists who falsified data disproves climate change, but that's neither here nor there. And anyways, at the end of the day, what I find is that when I look up the topic, that was falsified. That the climate scientists who were involved in the issue were exonerated, that they did nothing wrong. So I think that goes to show you that the numbers are real, that the scientists are real, that the guys, the professors, one being from Penn State, did absolutely nothing wrong. So let's see. The people who don't believe in climate change are getting paid 9 times more than the non-believers of climate change, of the believers of climate change, Republicans, Democrats. So we follow the money. The second largest lobbying industry in the United States happens to be coal and oil. Around the time of the Industrial Revolution, CO2 in parts per million goes up. Our weather as a whole begins to show an average increase in temperature. And then we can look at the salinity of our waters. And what I mean by that is the ice is melting faster than ever before. All right, our ice has never melted at this pace. And what that means is fresh water is mixing quicker with salt water, changing the salinity, and in some cases, because we are pumping CO2 into the atmosphere, we're actually changing the acidity of the water, making coral reefs unlivable. And what I think our planet, our people need to understand is we can't live without these things. We cannot actually do it. That it is impossible to do. We will simply die. And I actually saw an interesting video that I wanted to play. It's actually a series of videos all about the Earth, all about the environment, all about everything within it. And I'm actually just trying to think of the name because I saw it in my AP Environmental Science class, and now I'm actually, it is escaping me who does it. It's Roberts, Julia Roberts. She does the voiceover for it, and I'm going to pull it up for you now. And she talks about, she takes on the persona, she personifies Mother Nature. And it's really it's an interesting way to look at it. So it's only a minute or two. So here it is. It's a Conservation International
Some
film.
call me
And
nature.
here we go.
Others call me Mother Nature. I've been here for over 4.5 billion years. 22,500 times longer than you. I don't really need people, but people need me. Yes, your future depends on me. When I thrive, you thrive. When I falter, you falter. Or worse. But I've been here for eons. I have fed species greater than you, and I have starved species greater than you. My oceans, my soil, my flowing streams, my forests, they all can take you or leave you. How you choose to live each day, whether you regard or disregard me, doesn't really matter to me. One way or the other. Your actions will determine your fate, not mine. I am nature. I will go on. I am prepared to evolve. Are you?
Alright, so that's just a quick clip, obviously, about the environment. There's a lot more. There's one with Harrison Ford, Kevin Spacey. I encourage you to look them up. They're really wonderfully done. Greatly is not a word that I can use there. But when I get back, we're going to go to break in a minute. But I do want to say, I just looked at the numbers. I have 4 people tuned in right now, live, which to you 4 people, it is 2:21 in the morning. Whatever you may be doing, I don't understand why you're not in bed. But thank you for tuning in. And tune in to when this is going to play again at noon tomorrow. I'm exhausted right now, but that's okay. Alright, so I'm going to go take a quick break. Got to pay the bills for the station, for the show, and then when we get back, I'm going to tell you a story about seeing somebody litter, and I'm going to wrap up the climate change talk. But when you hear somebody talking about climate change, or when you hear this episode, think to yourself, maybe the scientists, just maybe, they might be right. Alright, I'm Bryce Robbins. This is Opinion Nation. We'll be right back.
1, 2.
All writers are prone to becoming so attached to our characters and stories that we struggle to see why a passage may not be working. It takes another set of eyes to help us nurture our writing to full maturity. At Black Wolf Editorial Services, we strive to enable writers to develop and grow, shaping stories into masterpieces that can stand the test of time. Editing services are provided for all genres and all age categories. Services range from critiques to the short story through to line edits to full-length novels, and copy editing for those preparing for publication. We also offer assistance on generating a writer's bio file for your websites, as well as help material. We won't abandon you to the masses. We want to celebrate with you in your successes. Black Wolf Editorial Services, nurturing your writings into maturity. For a full list of services and prices, visit us at blackwolfeditorial.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control over your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank account, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problems now by calling the experts at Tax Mediation Services and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. Tax Mediation Services is accredited by the Better Business Bureau. Call now for a free case review and a price protection guaranteed quote.
Call Tax Mediation Services now at 800-610-9050. That's 800-610-9050. 800-610-9050.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
The wild, tomorrow's child. Protect the land from the greed of man. Take out the dams, stand up to oil. Protect the plants and renew the soil. Who's gonna stand up and save the earth?
Alright, welcome back everybody. My name is Bryce Robbins. This is Opinion Nation. And again, I am coming to you live from my beautiful home and in my beautiful makeshift studio. Again, this episode will not be interrupted by Rick. And I know it's about climate change, and there is going to be absolutely no interruption whatsoever. And it is because I'm learning to actually produce the show myself. No help from anybody, no nothing. So that's good. That's obviously always a good thing. So I was saying that I'm going to tell a story. Something actually just happened this past week, and what it is might actually shock you. So, you know me. I love Chipotle. Okay? I'm not gonna lie. I love Chipotle. I just got Chiptopia. I gotta say, though, I think I like Moe's better. Beside the point. What is the point is that I'm going to the local Chipotle near me, and I see these girls getting into their car around the same age as me. Girls are getting into their car, and the girl who's getting into the driver's seat takes her McDonald's cardboard, cup with the plastic top with the straw, lowers her window, and throws it in the parking lot. And I look at it and I go, oh my God. I am shocked. I'm just getting out of my car. I'm halfway out of the car and I'm looking at it and I am just staring at this freaking cup on the ground. The passenger sees me staring in shock and I go, oh no. And it's one thing to see litter. It's one thing to see trash. It's another thing to see somebody do it. I go up to the girl and I go, do you realize we share the planet? Do you realize that we all inhabit this? You know where this is going to end up? Now take this cup back and go over to the garbage can and throw it out. She goes, oh, can I have my cup back? Give her a cup back. I don't know what she did. She probably cursed me out. But the point is, God damn it, take care of the freaking planet, okay? It doesn't matter if you believe that the planet is warming or not. What does matter, and this has been my point, is that even if the scientists are wrong, which they're obviously not, it doesn't take a genius to see that, then you still can't breathe the crap that's coming out of the coal pipe. You can't breathe the exhaust from your car. You can't breathe, or drink, the fracking solution or frack contaminated water. You can't, okay? You can't get fish from damned waterways. What we can do is use the sun, use the wind. We can learn or try to make safe nuclear power. I mean, something I encourage everybody to go see. It's an indie film out right now. It's called Indian Point. Perhaps the most excellent indie film I've seen, and it's all about Indian Point nuclear power plant. If that thing were to blow, and it could, it's on 2 fault lines in upstate New York, actually not that far away from me. I'm 2 seconds away from the city. I literally live, today I got into the city in a record time, I'd say 27 minutes. It was during rush hour. If I go at night, I've gotten into the city, I've timed myself. I got in as quick as, I think it was 5 minutes and like 37 seconds I got in. So I'm very close to the city, but this Indian Point is very close. It's within like 16 miles or 60 miles or something like that. I don't even know. But it's on 2 fault lines. It's a aged system. It's very old. It was built in like the 70s or 60s. And it is not, there is no extraction plan for New York City if this thing goes kabooey. Okay, there's absolutely none. So it is a nuclear power plant that is next to the most densely populated city in the world. It's aged. There are spent nuclear waste pools sitting there because our government decided, oh, well, we could have a national depository for nuclear waste, and they were building one in 1997, and they stopped it under the Bush administration or the Clinton administration. One of them stopped it. So now, all these nuclear power plants are simply building up nuclear waste and not disposing of it anywhere else. It's on-site containment, which is beyond a terrible scenario. Because what if, on 9/11, the plane hacker or whatever, terrorists drove the plane to that? Well, we would have a big problem on our hands. So, look, I'm getting a little off topic because it is 2:32 a.m. where I am. But the problem, I must tell you, is this. Our country, while it has its problems, we have Milwaukee, we have, so many issues right now. We have freaking Donald Trump, who is a buffoon. We have Hillary Clinton, who I don't trust. We have Jill Stein, who I've proven myself doesn't understand foreign policy. And we have Gary Johnson, who, let's just say he's special. He literally could not answer a question at the CNN town hall, just saying. He answered everything with perhaps, maybe, perchance. Well, I could be wrong. Uncomfortable for a politician. But anyways, look. Climate change, whether you like it or not, is real. Okay? If you like it, then do something about it. If you don't like it, you still want to breathe. So do something about it as well. Now, I always thought that the key to climate change is waste to energy plants, and I want everyone to go look it up and then ask your congressman why there aren't any of these being built. I think there's actually one being built in Florida, but why aren't there more of these being built? They are burning our garbage, incineration, at such a high temperature that it is killing most toxins, and they're using scrubbers and filters to get most of them out of the atmosphere. At the end of the day, it's being burnt at about the same level of CO2 emissions as natural gas, which is totally doable. That's very clean. Natural gas is 60% less than coal on CO2 emissions. That's why the United States is the only industrialized country to lower its CO2 emissions, or has done so the most, is because of natural gas. But it burns garbage. It gets rid of garbage. That means no more landfills, which are a huge problem. So here's what we can do. We can transition into an energy system that we have electric cars that are being charged by a smart electric grid made of solar panels, wind turbines, waste to energy, and hopefully next generation nuclear power plants. I want to do a whole episode actually on nuclear power. I'm trying to get a guest, former Nuclear Regulatory Committee member who's actually ousted, and he's talked about it in that movie, and I'm going to see if I can get him on. I'm really trying. But yeah, we're gonna do that. But look, I'm trying to get you to look at the numbers here. I can only show you so many statistics, and I can only quote so many people. You know, NASA, NOAA, the Department of Defense. That's all 5 branches of the military. One of the generals in the Pacific said it's the biggest threat to our national defense. The United Nations. There are many independent organizations, science organizations that you can look up. When Harvard scientists are telling you, when Stanford scientists are telling you, come on, are we really gonna say that they're wrong? I mean, it's their job to tell you the science, and the money. If we follow the money to Congress, we can see that $18.5 million just in Congress, in the House of Representatives alone, is saying climate change doesn't exist. But the scientists are saying it does. 97% of climate scientists are saying it does. So, please don't be stupid. Please think of your children when you leave this planet. I want you to think, is it better than when it came? And that is a lesson that my aunt has instilled in me. My Aunt Barbara. She teaches nature classes and teaches kids outdoors skills, and she definitely instilled in me the climate change issue is the number one issue. And I'll tell you why. Because Native Americans had this belief that you care about what you do now will affect the next 7 generations. What you do now will affect the next 7 generations. I repeat that. So, if I pollute this river, the next 7 generations can't swim in it. Did you know that during and this isn't necessarily about climate change, it's also about pollution, but during the Great Depression, there were hundreds of people fishing in the Hudson River right next door to me. Today, they recommend you don't eat more than 4 fish a year from the Hudson. I'm just saying. The Hudson River today is the world's largest Superfund site because of General Electric and its PCB spills from 1947 to 1973, which spilled 1.3 million tons of PCBs into the Hudson River. Ask yourself, listening to this, to the people listening right now, what are you doing to make this place better? What are you doing to make it better for your kids? If you can determine that you are making it better, if you feel that this world is a better place because of you, good job. It's not just one person. It's going to be many. So, in reference to Obama's Clean Power Plan that's on the agenda that's coming up, please pass it. Okay, environmental regulation, it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It really is a good thing. And to anybody who says it's not, sure, go live in the eras when there was no environmental regulation. We are at a great point in human history where science and technology might make our lives better. But we have to do so with environmental consciousness. Because if we don't, then we are going to have big problems. So, I'm exhausted. My name is Bryce Robbins. This is Opinion Nation. And for the love of God, for the people listening, and I see that there are people listening, go to bed. I'll catch you Saturday, 11 o'clock a.m. Be there. We actually have a guy, he's a 9/11 truther. Alright, so he believes that the government did 9/11. He's running for president from Oregon. You're not going to want to miss that. So be there. Again, Bryce Robbins, Opinion Nation. I'm out. Thank you, Jess, for teaching me how to do this. I will promise that everything will get better as we go along with the self-production of Opinion Nation. But until then, I'm Bryce Robbins. I'll catch y'all later.
Talking like we used to do. It was always me and you. Shaping up and shipping out. Check me in and check me out. Do you like walking in the rain? When you think of love, do you think of pain? You can tell me what you see. I will choose what I believe. Hold on, darling. This body is yours. This body